Alright, let's read this question real quick from Sir Geets, the GOAT. I have one more question. Do you think that Light, Yagami, and Madara have similar ideals to stopping bad people and scaring people from doing bad? It's a very good question. So breaking down these guys' mentality and their ideologies, I do think there's some parallels. Right. So let's start with Light Yagami. Light Yagami had this presupposed sense of justice early on in Death Note. Right. Early on, as soon as he got the Death Note, he started to think of justice. He started to think about eliminating the world's worst criminals, which on the surface level seems very ideal and very morally righteous. But I believe power distorted him. Power molded him into this more morally gray character, and eventually I would argue morally black. By the end of it, it wasn't about justice and the better good of humanity. It was about his God complex. It was about doing things his way. See, to him, it was it's my way or the highway. Because of the cat and mouse game that him and L would end up going through, right? I would argue L as well lost sight of what was important. He started to play into this game of where you have two of the greatest minds in the world going at it, and their competitive nature clouded their judgment and distorted their ideology to the point where their ideology wasn't really even justice anymore. It was about being the better man. And I think that really messed up Light Yagami's trajectory, as far as what he would be able to accomplish. If he would have stuck to the fucking plan, it would have been very unlikely that L would have caught him. Stay silent, stay quiet, don't play these fucking mind games with L, giving these little breadcrumbs to fucking L to chase you like you're the cat, or you're the mouse and he's the cat that can't catch you. That really distorted his ideology. And as far as his method for stopping bad people and scaring them, that kind of got tossed to the wayside, man. That really wasn't even the goal anymore. He was killing fucking cops. He was killing people that were trying to catch Kira. That went out the window. And I would argue, now going to Madara. Madara was more morally gray than Light Yagami. Here's why. Yes, he had a God complex as well. He wanted to do things his way. That's a parallel between the two. But his intentions arguably stayed more pure, right? He didn't have this cat and mouse game. Yes, he had his rivalry with Hashirama, but the fight was over ideology. It was a clash of ideology. It wasn't a clash of ego or pride. His Madara wanted to create Project Infinite Tsukuyomi later on to make the world a better place. He was aware of the inevitable cycle of war and hate, of war and love, of hate and good feeling. Right? He was familiar with that cycle. He wanted to end the cycle. That never changed, even up until the war arc. Yes, he seemed like a villain. That was still his goal, despite his ego. He does have an ego as well. Not to say he doesn't, but he was definitely more morally gray, and he's definitely someone that can more easily be supported than Light Yagami. If I had to pick who I think was more morally righteous, definitely Madara Uchiha. He's definitely more morally righteous. By the time Light Yagami was towards the end of Death Note, he was, I would argue, what he wanted to stop. He was the evil that he wanted to stop at the beginning. That's what Light Yagami was. And that was the metamorphosis of Light Yagami. Ironically, he became what he wanted to stop. He became this guy that had a God complex that wanted to stop him. It's insane. So I would say Madara Uchiha's ideology is the better one. Definitely by the end of the respective animes. And I would say Light Yagami ended up becoming the villain. He ended up becoming the bad guy. That's why he failed.